Hello, 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 beautiful people, and welcome back to another Career and Care Summit preview where we are live with one of our summit speakers. Welcome, 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 Melva Holt.
Hello, hello, hello. Excited to be here today.
Yeah, so okay, we're gonna give a full disclaimer. Melva and I we've spent a lot of time together over the last few years, which I have absolutely loved and enjoyed. But even before that, we worked at General Mills together. So we spent some time in corporate in the trenches, doing the thing in the trenches. Doing the thing. So I am super excited to be able to invite you to be a part of this discussion and then just to be a part of the Career and Care Summit in our second annual event. So I'm going to do all the housekeeping on that front. And then you and I are going to have a very exciting conversation because you are joining us for two presentations or two sessions during the Career and Care Summit. So at the time that we are recording this, we are just 11 days away from the Korean Care Summit, and I'm super, super excited about the event itself, the lineup, all the things that are going to happen on the day. For those of you who are joining me live, please do drop your city in the chat so we know who's with us, who's riding with us. We know that lots of other alumni have been showing support on the LinkedIn post when we made your announcement. And I say alumni of General Mills, right? Of the corporate time that we spent together. So excited for everybody who's with us live. If you're watching on the replay or listening on the replay, I love that for you. We love that for us too, because it makes all the difference that you guys are sharing these posts and sharing these lives with other people in your network who you believe really should hear what's happening at the summit so that they can come to the summit. We have just 20 tickets left. We have just 20 tickets left to the Career and Care Summit that is being hosted on March 21st by us at Career Gems for the Journey. So grab your ticket today. Do not delay. My team actually told me that they posted yesterday in celebration of International Women's Day a QR code, a coupon code for 20% off. So if you were waiting, oh, I'm not sure, and I'm just going to wait and see, here it is. This is it. This was the coupon moment you were waiting for in celebration of International Women's Day. The coupon is good for yesterday, which was Monday, and today, Tuesday, March 10th. Go and grab your ticket now. Now, Melva is going to give you all the reasons why you should come because she's going to drop mad gems during the time that we're together. But I'm going to remind you at the end of the time we're together to go grab your ticket. So, Melva, give the folks just a little bit of your backstory professionally, and then we can get into the two sessions that you're going to be leading and a part of at the Career and Care Summit.
All right. Thank you, Leah. So my career started right out of college at General Mills, as Leah mentioned, where we met over 2 decades ago. I don't know, I can get cute and give you the exact year, but why not? Why? I'm going to keep you guessing a little bit.
Keep it cute.
Over 2 decades ago, and I started with the company in the engineering development program. I moved through that program, then went into a frontline supervisor role in one of our manufacturing facilities, and then from there said, "Hey, I got this opportunity to really do work." Building team, building culture, onboarding, a whole bunch of things that were really in the lane of HR. And I asked for the opportunity to take a cross-functional role into HR, and the rest is history. I never went back to operations engineering, and the rest of my career was spent in HR. So in totality, I spent 14 years in corporate HR across General Mills and an organization by the name of Command, now part of Motion Industries. And then after that, stepped away from corporate, I would say at the top of 2020, with a lot of support from my husband, who's co-founder of the company. We've been talking about the idea for some time around doing our own thing. Let's see how many more people we can impact, how many more organizations we can impact, and really this idea of future of work. And so at the top of 2020, stepped away from corporate and into entrepreneurship and leading this leadership development firm. So in a nutshell, That's how I
In a
got here
nutshell,
today.
right? So we're not going to try to put it in a nutshell because you have too vast experience to be able to distill it down into a few sentences, but you did a great job. So the gist of that, the reason why I wanted to make sure you shared that was, first of all, people need to know for a fact that you actually have the juice, right? Like, not only have you worked in massive organizations, you've done it on the technical side and on the operation side of the house, and then transitioned into HR. So Melva has actually sat in the rooms. She sat with executive leadership teams, with CEOs, with broader organizational strategy, and heard directly what's happening and the kinds of conversations that are being had. So let's start with the two sessions that you're going to be a part of for the Career Care Summit. So you are leading a session specifically around my NDA expired. And this was my idea, right? So I dragged me. You know, kind of put it on her. This was my idea because over the last 5 years and running Career Gems for the Journey and leading the organization, I have our last year's merch T-shirt on. For anybody who's joining us live, it gave me a perspective of what people's relationship was with HR inside of their company. So I have my own lived experience about HR inside of corporations, but now we have the benefit of being able to bring a very honest, a very transparent, but also a very like, let's not waste each other's time kind of conversation about how HR relationships develop inside of organizations. So that's the first session, right? And we're going to get into the second session also, where we're going to talk about healing corporate hurt, which is your signature program that now you've built in navigating and supporting other leaders who are figuring out their current corporate experience and how to heal from that and move themselves into a new phase in their professional life and career. So not one but two times you guys are going to getting the inside track from an existing, currently working, not this idea of 20 years ago we did it this way, or 45 years ago, this would have been the only path to success. So I loved, and I wanted to make sure we brought that to the forefront. So talk to us just a little bit more about what do you do as an HR executive? What do HR executives actually do when they're supporting corporate teams as they are figuring out their talent strategy or maybe even a succession planning strategy? What happens in some of those rooms? If you could just give us an example, just to give context for what your HR executive role was.
Yeah. I think that's a great question, Leah, and a perfect ground setting. You hear talent strategy, HR, people, you have all kind of thoughts on what that can be. There's the obvious hiring and exiting. I won't say hiring, but the exiting strategies that
You
happen
can
with
say
people,
firing. You can
right?
absolutely say
So
that. That's
that,
the
but that
truth.
is like that is the core, and paying people. Those are like the core functions of HR. At the executive level, it is really about doing a couple of things. One, being a voice for and protecting employees, and then also helping the organization manage risk related to
So what would be
people
your split?
safety.
In your split of what you think most HR leaders are spending their time on today, if you had to split between being the voice for employees and helping the company manage risk, what would you say that split is in your
Risk.
risk? So are we saying 80% of your time is spent managing company risk and 20%? Give us a ratio.
There's a lot, and this changes. This can differ depending on where the organization is and its own maturity towards what they're trying to be. So that's important to know. But I would say, it's definitely majority towards the risk, in my opinion, just in the level of conversations, right? Because you have a large governance role, and you're looking at a lot from a governance perspective when you're at that senior level, within the HR seat. So, I would say maybe 70-30. Organizations that have, well, at that higher level, yeah, 70-30, maybe 80-20, I would go into more. Now, your oversight, obviously, you have teams in place underneath you that should
Mhm.
be focusing more on the people, right? But that need for governance, that need for risk mitigation, is a core part of the role and the conversations. Even when talking business strategy, layering over the talent strategy, you're talking about risk, right? If we don't have a leader to take over this key important leadership role in the organization, what's the risk associated with that, right? Like, what's our business risk? Can we handle it? What's on the line? Are we going to lose business? Like, and so even that, from a succession, talent placement, is still risk management in my mind.
So let's distill it down. Let's give people the tea. So the gist of what you have said, and Melva always says it so eloquently, and she gives me all of the right language, all of the appropriate framing, because every organization is different. There's no one size fit all model to any form of leadership, certainly not in HR. But if we take it a step further, the gist of it is HR leaders are often spending the majority of their time managing risk for the company.
That's
And
it.
then there are individuals who spend some time developing employee relationships or being the voice for the employees. But I think what people might misunderstand oftentimes is what business role HR leaders play. And what Melva just explained is essentially they're in the room, they are the third party in the room between maybe the business team and leadership who is helping to make sure that they're having the right kinds of conversations that don't get the company sued or don't cause the company to lose money. So I think it was such an eye-opening experience for me as someone who was navigating my own professional life in a corporation and saying, well, you would get suggestions of you should go talk to HR maybe about your career development, for example, or you wanted to get a promotion, and people may send young early folks in their career to go and talk to HR. But I never knew what I should go to talk to HR about and what I shouldn't. And I think there's a set of talk to HR to build a relationship so that people like know the names and the capabilities of people in the organization. But then there's also this go to HR to talk about issues or challenges or problems that you're having with your manager or with something, a interpersonal relationship or peer to peer relationship. And that was something that I felt like I never felt comfortable doing, to be honest. So I never felt comfortable going to HR until I met folks like you and saying anything. The assumption was anything that I needed to do inside of the organization or any problems that I had were mine alone to solve. And I think that actually is where the most friction lies in people's relationship with companies is problems come up, challenges come up, and they don't know who to involve or what to share when they do involve HR. So give us the sense of, I'm going to give just a scenario, and then give us a sense of what you suggest people would do in that kind of scenario. Now, this is completely fake.
Okay.
Um, and
Okay.
it's my own experience, right? It's my own experience where it was time for me to transition roles and technically to get promoted. I thought it was time for me to get promoted. I had gotten all the signals and indications that it's time for promotion, but I hear directly from my manager that they want me to wait another year because they think there's areas for me to develop. Is that something that someone should go and talk to their HR person about? I'm looking for promotion because what it compelled in that moment for me was, should I quit? Should I leave because I'm unhappy with what my manager is telling me, or should I go and kind of talk to HR? So give us just an example of how you suggest someone who is 5 years into their career looking for their promotion believes that was happening, and then they get the news from their manager that it's not going to happen, maybe another year. Should they come to HR in that kind of scenario? Or what do you suggest?
So first, let me go back, because when I discussed risk being kind of the key focus for HR executives, I meant it truly from an executive standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the deeper you go into the organization, HR leaders obviously are still looking at risk. However, there is a larger role to be played in understanding talent culture, engagement, and actually, helping develop people for the organization, develop the organization um, in that role. And so um, I just want people to know that it's
Yeah.
not all risk, but absolutely you should go and talk to HR. So I'll speak from my own experience of the things that were successful for me. Okay. Because a couple of things that I heard throughout my career and every single role that I took on in HR is, oh, you're not like the others. So I have to give that a little bit of that disclaimer up front. And it was always in the positive. Okay. And a lot of that came from actually my engineering operations background of recognizing you've got to get in, you've got to know people. You got to get to
Mhm.
know people, you got to get to know their motivations. The first time you're talking to somebody, you do not want that to be because it's something bad that's happening. And I would say the
Right.
same thing in the example that you're giving when it comes to HR. So if you feel like you're ready for promotion, you should be talking to HR. You don't want them to get to know you through what your leader is telling them about you. You have this opportunity to make your own impact. You have this opportunity to talk to them directly. You have this opportunity for them to get to know you personally. And you have this opportunity to tell them exactly what it is that you're looking for. And so
Yeah.
they're not getting that information second, third hand. And so trust me, I've been in the position where I worked really hard to get to know people. I will tell you, when I worked supporting the sales organizations at General Mills,
Mhm.
I would go visit. I had several site locations, and so I would travel to some of those locations, and I would spend 2 whole days just having one-on-ones with people about their career.
So you've already said how you're different. You've already said how you're different. That you are take like just hold that, right? Hold that because I think there is a clear line oftentimes in great HR professionals that are doing the work to build the relationship so there isn't this HR is perceived as the police. I've heard that a
Yeah.
lot, or as the snitch, right? In an organization, right? Just to be honest about what I'm hearing people say. So you already kind of illuminated you have a good HR person when they're doing the work to make sure they get to know you. And then you should take advantage and make that a reciprocal relationship, especially when you're early in your career. Cause you were, really poignant to point out that early in your career, you treat HR as a resource. And then later in your career, you might want to use them as a tool for strategically placing your narrative, your story, your promotion, your ability. So let's maybe distill it down because we jumped in and that was my fault. Tell us what an NDA is. Tell us what an NDA is and why companies actually have people sign NDAs. Let's back that up so we make sure we give them a little bit more foundation. What is an NDA and why do companies have people sign them?
So an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, which is basically you signing something to say that you're not going to go and run and tell the company's business. It's about protecting trade secrets. It's right. So
Uh-huh.
processes internal to the company, you know, you may think it's nothing. Everybody's doing this, especially in this age of AI, which I think is a very interesting place. But like, hey, is it a marketing process? Is it a manufacturing process? Is it,
Mm-hmm.
is it the formula, right? In the case of food manufacturing, is it the formula to something that we do? So the NDAs exist to protect the company from their intellectual property and their trade secrets going out and into the world and somebody being able to take them and use them as their own.
Okay. So I actually, as a small business, also have NDAs. So I think non-disclosure agreements are a should be, in my opinion,
Likewise.
right? A commonplace, right? Where you're making sure that you're protecting yourself. So when we asked you to do the my NDA expired, NDAs essentially are set up to protect the company and all their interests and information. So you're not telling the company's business. So that's what Melva said at the top. So what we're trying to do now is illuminate what is actually happening in rooms where HR leaders at an executive level are really what role they're playing and how that can give you insight in navigating your career. So tell us a little bit about, as you think about navigating the difference between a hard job and a harmful job, and what the role of HR leadership is when you're thinking about a role just being difficult and someone having to really challenge themselves and to grow themselves in order to navigate a role, versus what you see as risk or harm when we're talking about your, is that on my end?
No, I think it was on mine. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. Because I want to give folks just the context of your healing corporate hurt and the work that you're doing real time now. So we talked about a little bit about what NDAs are, and now I want to just move us briefly into your healing corporate hurt. So talk just a little bit about that statement and where that came from in your building your business and navigating running a leadership development organization that you founded.
So this idea of a hard job and a harmful job, I think it made me pause. It's making me right. It made me pause just thinking about it because um, we often do right. We have this mantra: "I can do the hard things." Right? Somebody's mantra out here in the world right now.
It's
Uh,
not yours though. You're saying that's
It's
not
not
you.
mine, right? We can do hard things, right? And
Mhm.
there's strength and being resilient and all those things that surround us. And sometimes you're just not in the right place. Sometimes it is just not the right situation, scenario for you. And you may not even recognize you're being harmed, but you are experiencing trauma in the way that we talk about trauma in every other way, trauma within the workplace is very real as well. And so I think about hard work as something that challenges you, but you're growing, right? Hard work, we shouldn't be scared of hard work. We can build character, we can grow from it in a number of ways. But when I think about harmful work, I'm thinking about toxicity. I'm thinking about environments or work that actually chop us down instead of growing us. I'm thinking about places that belittle you, disrespect you, or don't value you as harmful.
So you probably struck a chord with a lot of people, because I can say that I've seen, for my own perception of what work needed to be, the assumption was if it's not hard, then I'm not doing work that's relevant, right? If it's not really hard, then I'm not growing. So I love that you're able to provide this distinction, because sometimes we believe that being disrespected, being talked over, being disregarded, and not being compensated fairly is just a part of work. And I think what you're helping people to, kind of crystallize and think through in their own mind is there are things that should be challenging, that should be difficult, but not to the point where you are doing yourself harm in your workplace, or by staying in the workplace, because you're not doing yourself harm. But there are definitely workplace environments that can cause you harm. So talk to me just about this. Tell us a story about, without naming names, of how a slow burn really played out for someone as they were navigating small moments in their career, and that accumulation of challenges or problems that they now may be able to realize were harmful or toxic. Talk to us, just give us a little bit of a backstory of an example of that, because I think some folks may be having a hard time to make this harmful versus hard distinction. So can you give us an example?
I absolutely. So I have a couple of that are actually playing out right now, real time, that I will share, but I won't obviously attach any names as you asked me not to do with them. But I think it exhibits that really, really importantly. Someone comes into a new work environment, starting a new job. You know, they're brought in. Hey, we can't wait to have you on the team. You're going to bring all these skills, right? Hype them up around all this contribution they're going to be able to make and how great it's going to be, right? They're bought into it, they're excited and ready to go. They start the job and their experience starts to be different. It starts to be different. Now, within that different, hey, once the honeymoon period wears off and people stop being nice, right? Once we get past that forming stage in the team development
Mhm.
model, they really start to recognize that culturally there's some things that aren't working for them. People are disrespectful, and they don't respect each other in meetings. That shows up in the way that they're respecting their work. It becomes hard to push through things that should be just regular things that are easy to get done in the course of the work, that happens because there's personality differences, people, being disrespectful in meetings, people not following up as they're supposed to, and there's no accountability to, the follow up within it. This sounds like, okay, this is hard work, right? So it feels hard. You're thinking this is hard. How do I work myself around it? But then you start to hear somebody say things, come back to you that people are saying about you that are false about the way that you're handling your work. Now you're wondering, okay, where's this coming from? And they're giving examples, and who's in the meeting. So you start to go back. You try to go and talk to that person. They act as if that stuff is not happening or it didn't come from them. You try to work through it. You're thinking this is hard, but there's harm because there's malicious intent that's happening within this. Now these messages start to make it up beyond your level to your senior leaders, and they're calling and they're checking on you. Now they were responsible for your hiring, so they are excited about you, but they're also having a little bit of dissonance because they don't know what's happening between the things that they're hearing versus what they knew of you through the interview process. They support you because you're able to say, hey, here's all the things that are happening, and they see that you have a good vision, but they're not actually going back and doing anything with the people that are not getting the work done, nor are saying the malicious things.
And that is the clear distinction. That is the really clear distinction. You said two things, and I know you have more to share. But one, you start to identify malicious intent. And I think sometimes we may be navigating situations and feeling like, am I crazy? Am I tripping? Like the way that this person is behaving, or the way that they are directing their comments towards me, or the way that they're directing comments towards other people, is not setting anybody up for success. And sometimes we feel, as the new person to the organization or someone who may be more junior, am I the right person to speak up about this being problematic? I'm looking left, I'm looking right. I'm hoping my peers or leadership in the organization will address these concerning behaviors. And when that doesn't happen, now you're oftentimes left with a set of choices. And those choices can feel like you are exaggerating. Sometimes you can tell yourself, this is just the way, Bob is. It's not a me thing. This is just the way Bob at work behaves. So I think getting to the point where you can identify what the intent of the behavior is such a huge unlock for them folks to decide, do I stay the course and decide that I'm just going to adapt, or do I need to remove myself from this environment? So I love that you said identifying malicious intent, identifying if there is malicious intent. And I also love that you said that leaders can be made aware of a situation, and they can vocally say that they support you, and they may spend time with you, they may invite you into a discussion, but you're also now looking for what action they are taking in order to help to change or influence the environment that you have to work in on the regular basis. And I feel like there is where, folks may be feeling like, okay, I heard the first two steps, and now I'm trying to decide, is there actually any potential for change? And a lot of times that's where the rubber meets the road. So I love that you called those two things out. So finish your example for us.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the most important things. And Leah, you said something that I believe wholeheartedly. A life is about choices, and we choose every single day what we're willing to tolerate and what we're willing to celebrate. We choose that every day. And guess what? Organizations do as well. And
Mhm.
so, my definition of culture is it's a combination of the behaviors that are rewarded and the behaviors that are tolerated. because the things that are tolerated set a tone for what's acceptable within the organization. And everybody's not coming in trying to be an A plus exceeds worker. They're just trying to figure out how they're going to get by. Many people
Mhm.
figuring out how they're going to get by. Many trying to figure out how they're going to work the system. And if the system says we're willing to tolerate that, even if your values say something different, what's on the wall, if they can still get away with it, they will. And
Okay.
so,
Wait, Melva. See, you be go. Listen. Wait a second. Wait a second. What you just said there is, I think, for someone like me and someone like a number of the people, the clients that I support, who was absolutely bought into the conditioning of the expectation is that I'm getting an A, right? I went through an A is my goal. If I happen to hit the A minus or the B plus, I'm annoyed, but I get it. But I think I had to put down so much of the perception as working in corporate that everyone is going to behave or work or have the belief system that I am bringing to the table. Also, because it was that perfectionism caused me to over exaggerate and overwork myself at a lot of times. So I had to take some responsibility for, believing that overperformance was going to get me to a result that I wanted, and also um not making the assumption that the peers that I work with on the regular basis are going to show up in the same way that I do. And you just said some people are showing up to work every day and they're just adapting to the system that's in place. They are just, okay, this is the level of performance that I have to give in order to fly under the radar. Cool. I think in this, current economy, we're seeing all kinds of new pressures and expectations be put upon people. But I think the truth of the matter is people are going to do what the organization allows them to do, what is accepted. And for somebody, they just got free. Like, okay, I'm frustrated about a coworker. I'm frustrated about how they're behaving or how they're showing up. But the reality that the organization is allowing this and I don't have control over that may give them a new opportunity to make a new choice. The organization is
that's it.
allowing it. I have to choose accordingly. So thank you so much for saying that. I know somebody just got free.
Yes, it is such an important thing because we feel, I felt it. I felt like, oh, can I leave this? Can I change this? And you feel like you're handcuffed to the situation. But at the end of the day, you're the only person that is 100% thinking about what's best for you
Yeah.
and what's best for your family. The organization may care, but they've got however many employees are within the organization. They're making decisions for masses, not for you as an individual. I say that, and I'm going to say also out the other side of my mouth, organizations do what they want for whom they want. Organizations will do what they want for whom they want. And I need everybody to understand that and know that. My hands are tied, we can't, you ask for something, it's not the time. There's real intent around, hey, we have an intention to promote you, we have a plan for that, now is truly not the time, they're just waiting for this particular thing to open up or these dominoes to fall and then your time will come.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolutely true in some cases. It is absolutely not true in some cases as well. And
So
so,
you've just illuminated for people that they may be making an observation, right? I thought I should be the one who's getting promoted or moving into my next role. And I see they just promoted my peer. I see that Alan just got a promotion. What what would you say to people once they observe that there are a different set of rules oftentimes to support your idea of organizations do what they want for who they want? Once you come to that realization, I think you again, now you have a choice. Do you accept that the organization, we're going back to this, all of these things provide information so that you as an employee can make a choice.
that's it. It's data. I say it's data, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
should take that data um, and collect data as
Mm-hmm.
good engineers do, right? You want to collect all this data and then make your decisions accordingly, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to just take one piece of data and say, unless it's a really big one. Sometimes it's a
Mm-hmm.
really big one, but I would venture to say, in every case where somebody felt like they were blindsided, when we go back and we walk that back, there were all kind of flags on the field that they were missing, and so organizations also will tell you what they think of you. It's just up to you to believe them.
So that gets us to our next question. Because you've said that before in other platforms and other areas. Organizations will tell you what they think of you. You just have to believe them. So, what is the most important thing you want professional women to stop believing about themselves when it comes to what they deserve from the workplace?
Um, Ooh, that's a good question. So I have more than one thing. Okay.
Okay. All right, but listen, we're just gonna give them a taste, right? Because you're gonna go deeper into this at the Career and Care Summit in
Right.
person.
That's right. That's right.
So
So what
give them
I would say, you're not alone. Whatever you're
very important.
experiencing, 9 times out of 10, you are not the first person to experience it.
Mhm.
It is 2026. Thousands of people have worked at whatever organization you're at, unless you're in a small organization, very small organization, but we're talking about corporations, institutions that have been around for a while. I don't care if it's healthcare, banking, you name it. Thousands of people have been there before. And so what you're experiencing, more than likely, you're not the only one that has experienced that. And you are not the only one experiencing that at this point in time. And I think that's important to understand, because we can isolate, right? We got all this social media. Nobody's getting up there talking about the lumps, the insecurity that they're feeling, hey, I'm feeling confused by this messaging that I'm getting. Nobody's talking about all of that
or
stuff
that
that
I
we're
got
now getting.
demoted, right? I
All
got
right, I got
demoted,
demoted,
or I
right?
had
Oh, but they can't let me keep the money. I can give you story after story after story. Nobody knows all that pain or confusion or chaos that we're experiencing, because we don't put that out there. But trust me when I say, you're not the only one at that organization, nor in the world, right? In the workforce that's going through that. And there's community. There's community that you got to find it. It's got to be a safe space so that you can talk about it. That's an important place for me. And the work that I do is to create those spaces so that we can talk about it openly. But once you recognize that, you can also start to pivot more towards action and changing what it is that you're in and making the choices that move you into a different place.
okay. So you said community, and you said that you're not alone, right? So like recognizing you're not alone and then building community, which is exactly what we're building here at the Career and Care Summit that you're going to join us at. Exactly what your organization, Pays Leadership, is really building and creating these opportunities for people to build community, because oftentimes the first and the only, right? If you're the only woman in your organization, or if you're the first to lead in your organization, or if you're just different, whatever, you are not the norm, there it is very isolating, and it can be scary to have a sounding board, to not have a sounding board, or not have an advisor, not have a mentor, not have a work best friend to be able to just bounce ideas off of and kind of decide, am I in the wrong? What responsibility do I have? What responsibility does the organization have? But you said something else there that I really like. It's so rich for me, is as we think about building building our community and seeking out these places to be able to connect, it kind of brings me back to um, the NDA expired. How much can HR leaders, executives, share with you if you bring them an issue or a challenge that you're navigating? What can you expect back from them?
Yeah, this is an
What's
important question, because people
Please.
expect more than what they can often provide, right? You bring something, they may have spent hours upon hours investigating something that you brought to them. They cannot come back and tell you really much of anything. Okay, outside of, yes, we'll look into it, or we looked into it. There may be, I mean, if it's egregious and somebody loses their job over it, then obviously you may see the result of that. But confidentiality rules in HR. And so everybody's right to have their information protected is at play when I think about that, right?
And
And so they can't come back and say, you know what, we investigated, they did it to you, 5 other people, and now you will never get that. It's not a gossip circle. So I
mhm.
think people expect too much when it comes to that. And I think that HR leaders have to find a better way to be able to communicate so that people can also understand, hey, my hands are tied. Understand we took it seriously. We've done a thorough investigation, and we're taking the steps that we think are necessary in this particular place.
So I think you have like this is the biggest gem you've dropped thus far. When you go to HR, if you have a concern that you're sharing with them and there is an investigation, if you take that step, first of all, it takes a lot of courage oftentimes to then reach out to HR because you're experiencing some kind of a workplace challenge. Well, then once you share that with them, they cannot disclose anything about that investigation. And I think I certainly had a misconception that I would learn more or that there would be a follow up with me after the fact. And I think you mentioned the point that confidentiality on both sides are considered important at the same level. So the confidentiality for the person who made or initiated the investigation and for the person or persons who are being investigated. And that sounds unfair in a way, but I think it's important that people know that that's the reality so that they can really equip and prepare themselves for, is this the right call? And when do I want to get these folks involved? And then do I have the right supports in place to be able to do what's best for me after the fact? And I think it's hard because a lot of HR leaders just won't tell you anything or they won't tell you what they can't tell you, which I think is just important for people to be able to make peace with, right? And make a conscious choice. So I really do, appreciate you bringing that over the top.
And it brings back the thread of what I said. It's about risk mitigation, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
large risk, right, for telling, even if it's somebody that you complain about and there's more information that's found, there's still a lot of risk in being able to broadcast to the whole organization. Now, there are organizations that will post. So transparency can look different. Hey, here's the things that we got. The call, most companies have an ethics line that you can call or something to anonymously report something. If you ever wonder, I don't think that goes anywhere. It absolutely goes somewhere. And let me tell you something. Reporting into a main company ethics line will 100% get investigated. Taking it to your leader and or HR person may or may not, depending on if they deem it's worth investigating. So I'm just going to tell you that if they have an anonymous line, that has to get investigated. And most of the time, that is information the board sees as well at some level. So if you're like, hey, this is big, or this is going on, or I don't even feel comfortable, you can use that. It is there, not just as something they have to have, and then your complaint goes off into a black box. It absolutely is followed up on.
So that was
So
something that I didn't even know. Look, Melva's out here educating me on what happens in high functioning HR organizations. That when you call into a complaint line, that gets taken seriously. So there's all of this kind of, I think, backstory and kind of undercurrent that is just helpful to have an HR person like you that we can trust to help us understand what's happening behind the curtain and also give us the support system and the tools so that we can strategize once we have the information of what's behind the curtain. What actions do we take now that we know this information? So I cannot wait for the Career and Care Summit. We are just 11 days away and we have only 20 tickets left to sell. So we plan to be sold out by the end of the week. That's what's happening over here. That's the plan that we're manifesting. And you're joining us in person. Tell us what you are most excited about or something that you're looking forward to specifically. Because we want to know what you want to get from the Career and Care Summit. Tell us what you're excited about.
So I'm looking forward to being in community with professional women wherever they are in their journey. So I get energy from being in spaces where I can just talk. I'm here to help. And I actually feel like it's part of my divine mission to help people. I've been able to excel and make it to these high level places. And I see it as part of my divine mission that I am here to help. people navigate these things. And so I look forward to just being in community, meeting people, hearing about what you're doing, answering questions, talking about this experience, talking about healing corporate hurt and corporate trauma, and how you move past that. So I'm just excited because I believe this is a fantastic space you've created, Leah. After it was over, this when it was over last year, and I was like, so I'm not based in Philly, and I didn't make it, but I need to know all about how I can be there next year. So very excited for that.
Good. I'm thrilled, and I appreciate the acknowledgement because oftentimes we know that there is a need, but it goes back down to how do you fill the gap and do it in a way that feels fruitful and rich for other people. Because I think you and I sit on the side of executive coaching and supporting leaders on a one-on-one basis, and we know that these things are happening inside of organizations today, similar things that may have been happening 20 years ago. So then when you get a chance to stand in that gap and say, all right, well, then we want to create the space for people to be able to have a psychological safety that is unprecedented, to be in community with other professional women, and then to also have the opportunity to grow their perspective, grow their career, build those day two relationships, right? We have our day ones from childhood or from college, but now we're in a day two, we're in the next phase of our career, and maybe even solicit some support to navigating that next phase from folks like you, Melva, from folks like me, who are here to really be intentional about supporting professional women as they navigate their career. That's really what our work is on a consistent basis. And you and I get to talk, and we exchange ideas and support one another's business and refer each other work. And that's really the other benefit of the summit is you come into this space one way and you can leave a completely different way, a better version, because you've gotten a gap filled. You've gotten a networking opportunity for your next role. You found an executive coach that's going to support you. You made a new work best friend who is a woman who is in another organization, but navigating a similar challenge or similar change that you are. And now you're not in the same organization, but you can be each other's thought partners, accountability partners. You can help to drive and support one another. And then you get to talk about your overall health care and well-being. We're talking about perimenopause, menopause. We're talking about pelvic floor health, physical therapy. We're really trying to support the entire woman. And this really feels to me my divine calling, right? So you talked about your divine calling. It feels like my divine calling to be able to step into a place where we create something that didn't exist before to solve problems that we know women are having and navigating. So I'm so excited that you decided to join us. I mean, you shot your shot and you let me know, hey, Leah, this is what we need to do. I said, oh, okay. I'm with you. I like this energy and I love that. And I love just to be able to be in this stage of our professional lives and get to work and collaborate with people that I have tremendous respect for, that I absolutely believe are doing, work that matters and that will continue to matter. So I feel grateful that you're going to join us. I'm looking forward to you being there in person. I understand the husband might also be joining us. So the husbands are going to be in the building, right? Is your husband also coming and being?
He's not going to be able to make it this time. He's not going. We were really hoping that we could show up as a pair, but
next
not
year.
This time.
Yeah, next year. I understand. I'm dragging mine along. So, he can definitely be a stand-in. Like, okay, well, this is typically where we would tag in a husband to help carry this thing or move it, and we'll make it happen. So we appreciate it. We're excited, Melva. Thank you so much for joining us for this live. We will see all of you on March 21st at the Career and Care Summit. Grab your ticket today. There's just 20 left, and we're 11 days away. And you should absolutely check the agenda because you want to put a star next to Melva's session. If you're navigating, transitioning your career and you're trying to figure out, do I have the right supports in place? Am I navigating a workplace that might be harmful? Am I on the brink of burnout and I'm trying to figure out how I can strategically pull myself back? You want to be in the Healing Corporate Hurt session. And if you are maybe, seeing some things happening inside your organization, there's a restructure, there's, changes in culture, and you're trying to say, well, I need an HR leader that actually understands what might be happening and can help me to navigate some of these micro signals. My NDA expired, star that session because Melva is going to drop so many gems. She just got us started here the momentum for what we're going to hear at the summit is going to be even greater. It's going to be a facilitated conversation. And I really, really believe that somebody is going to be transformed from hearing from somebody who is not only has the expertise, has the experience, is leading an organization, but also has the trust, has my trust, and can build the trust with women in the room at the Career and Care Summit. So we want you all to be there because we want you to be able to benefit from Melva's amazing work. Melva, let us know where folks can find you. How can the folks get more information just about the work that you're doing? Give us a little bit of information about your website or your LinkedIn so that folks can make that connection.
Yeah, so you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Melva Hold. It'll say the Management Maven as part of my tagline as well. So find me. There's not that many Melva Holds, so it shouldn't be too hard. And I look just like my picture. I know we live in a day and age. I don't know what the pictures be looking like sometimes, but I look just like my picture. So it shouldn't be hard to find me there. Or visit www.paceleadership.com and visit us at the website. You can find me that way as well. So.
Okay. Until the next time, you all, we appreciate you riding with us. Please continue to make your journey work for you, and we will see you the next time that we're here live. Take care.